Welcome to our podcast with me, Eliza Williams.
And me, Daniela Karam.
Where we are going to talk about the 2020 picture, Gretel and Hansel. So the film is about Gretel and Hansel as they are kicked out of their home by their mother. Gretel originally tries to ask a lord for help for work, and he just asks her to prostitute herself. So her mother is very offended by this gesture, so she has to leave the house with her brother Hansel, and they go into the woods, and they are forced to fend for themselves as they go through the woods and find a cottage that is filled with food, and Hansel just can't contain himself anymore, and he's so hungry. So he goes in, and they are abducted by the witch, and Gretel is filled with this story of this little girl with a pink hat who is a witch and took little children to the woods. And she has learned this from a very young age. The older witch tells her that she planted the memories of her young daughter into her brain because they have the same spiritual connection. So it's kind of a supernatural telling of the old story.
Okay, so my original thought before watching the film, I thought that it was going to be definitely weird from how I saw the trailer, but I wasn't expecting for it to be, like, as creepy, or for them to, kind of make it how it ended up being, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't expecting for them to go that route with all of that, like, weird supernatural stuff. And with like the satanic, I liked, like, it was different, you know.
And so, like, I don't know, when I first started it, I was instantly sort of, like, jarred by the amount of, like, it kind of made me think of The Witch in a way. The way it was so, like, it was obviously, like, independent and trying to be old, like, and I felt like that was kind of, like, the whole vibe throughout the entire thing, but it still had that kind of, like, old English language about it, whereas like everyone kind of, like, talked relatively contemporary, kind of expecting a more supernatural tale because of the original story and everything, because they add in that supernatural child. The two children come in as Hansel and Gretel, and just having the story change from a kind of more theatrical theme to then a more, like, first person narrative sort of thing, because they changed, you know, like, they changed the camera angles and everything.
They did, like,
more like POV.
Yeah, definitely. I saw, especially when they were sitting down, it was more of, like, straight on, like, you know, shots of that. I thought I liked that. That was interesting. And, like, I saw that, especially in the beginning, like when she heads to that one guy's place that the mom had recommended for her to obviously head out and go on her own and be, like, a maiden.
Huntsman, when they met up with the huntsman?
Yeah, with the huntsman. That, like, they literally, it was like a still shot. Even with the other shots before that, everything was still. Nothing was, like, in moving with them. Besides when they were showing, like, the trees and stuff, like, up in the sky. But other than that, like, everything else, like, when you saw them, they came into frame always. And, like, even, like, when they finally sat down with the witch in her house, like, all of those shots were straight on POV shots and talking to the camera. And that was interesting. That I liked. And it worked well with it.
Like, they probably, I don't know, I feel like they probably used, like, GoPros or something, because it was just, like, that sort of, like, weird angle where it probably could have been a person just standing there, but it was, like, the way that they focused the camera.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of, like, it was blurred in the background, but obviously, like, it was kind of like a fisheye, but not.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean? Like,
that's really funny that you said that, because I literally, that thought came into my mind in one of the shots towards the end of the movie. I was just like, did they use a GoPro for this? Like, I actually did. So that's funny that you literally brought that up. Okay.
Yeah, like, I just felt like not so much when they were in the witch's house.
Yeah,
no.
Like,
when they were in the woods, like, especially, there was a lot of, like, those weird, like, sort of like, it was almost like it was an angle like slightly below their chin.
Yeah.
That was just kind of like out front, just kind of like waving around, looking at them as they're like running around, but the background was still blurred.
Mm-hmm. Mostly when they walked in the woods, yeah, like both of them.
It added a kind of weird perspective to look down. There was the one particular scene before they get to the witch's house that's pretty interesting. Gretel bends down and she talks to the mushrooms.
Looks like a mushroom. Yes, but they're as different from one another as people are. This one might be unfriendly.
How to tell?
Suppose you might ask them. Well, anyhow, here we all are, and pleased to make your acquaintance. We've been without food for too long now, and to be completely, frankly honest and open about it, we were thinking of, very seriously, of supping well on you. So tell me, if you will, strange little things. Are you kind, or no?
What did it say?
Strange as it might be, I think she said, eat me.
What did you think about that? Let's start there. Like, what did you think about that scene?
I thought it was interesting. I didn't expect it to go the way it did, because I was like, okay, maybe they're obviously both super hungry. This is just like some food for them. They're going to continue on with their, route and head to wherever they're heading. But I didn't expect for both of them to, after eating those mushrooms, to be in that type of trippy experience that they were both having just in the woods, and then just seeing it affect her. I was so confused at her facial expression, because it looked like she was happy.
She was happy, and then she got really scared.
Yeah, and then really scared, and then that's when they showed the people come out from the trees. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, this is part of obviously the tale of the pink cap girl, and obviously them heading to the witch's house. Something's gonna happen.
Hansel seems pretty chill and happy, and then as she gets more scared, he gets kind of more confused as to where he is. And then he obviously goes and throws up. And then Gretel is just kind of sitting there and looking around. The way they filmed it, it was kind of like a cut back and forth. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like they were switching through time. Yeah. Each time you saw the other kid, it was like a passage of time.
Yeah.
But the cutting, I feel is also not just a passage in time. It's also kind of showing how each character is getting affected by just giving into that sort of need to consume, and just kind of how it negatively affects them. Hansel gets really sick and he's throwing up in the by the tree, and Gretel is just kind of like gets very scared but is still curious, and she wants to know like what the witches are doing, but it's also terrifying to her, but there's something that's calling her to there. And so I feel like it's bringing it into that more darker and supernatural. It's kind of like bringing the two like the first 15 minutes of the movie into like beginning of the greater and more stressful version of what is the rest of the movie and stuff.
Yeah. Especially before when they walked and they were kicked out of their house, I wasn't expecting for it to have taken such a dark turn, like immediately with her mom, that she used a hatchet, or literally took out a hatchet and threatened them. Like, that's what I mean by the dark tale. Like, I wasn't expecting it to go that dark, but I don't know, it went well with the story. I liked what they were going for. The vibe, the aesthetic of it was all worked together. So yeah, from the very beginning, a lot of distortion is shown through the angles when she's walking through the woods, and the camera is shaking with her, like as she's walking through it, creating this disoriented feel as she's walking through it. Yeah, and then throughout the movie, distorted music from time and time again, just like the music is like very distorted. Yeah, and like all like.
And then all of a sudden it's kind of like. But the funny thing is that it will start in the film, like it'll start to sound really sort of like scary and disorienting. Yet she'll just be walking down a staircase. And that's all she's doing. She's really not doing anything. Like they'll start the scary music and she'll just be like walking somewhere. And you're like, oh my God, like what's about to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Like, expecting something. Yeah.
But then like something doesn't always show up. And so then you're like, so is something going to show up when it's silent? Like then you're on edge.
The entire time. Yeah. That's how I felt throughout the entire movie.
The audience.
Yeah, because like
you were on the edge of your seat the entire time.
Yeah, because sometimes, the way she was feeling was because she saw something, and then that made sense, and then sometimes you just didn't even see anything. So then it was like, okay, when is it going to pop out? You're always on edge, waiting for that thing to be shown.
Always ready. Okay, I had one thing. I was wondering why at the beginning of the film, when she's originally going to look for work and she goes to the Lord.
Fairy tales have a funny way of getting into your head. I don't remember where I was, or when, that I first heard the story of the beautiful child in her little pink cap. Just feels like I've always known it. I wonder how someone gets their own fairy tale told about them. And if I'd even want that. You have to go through a lot of terrible trouble, and most of the time some prince appears and wakes you up anyway. But I don't see any princes around here. There's only my little brother. He follows me wherever I go, and I have to share everything with him. But at least he's mine.
Why are you wearing that?
I'm going to meet with John Strip and his wife, if he has one. Mother imagines he needs a housekeeper.
But why are your lips so strangely colored?
If I should ever see so much as a crumb of cake, you'll be the first to know. Okay.
Do you read?
No, though I am able to bake and launder.
Your father's a farmer, yes?
Was, yes. He's gone ahead to his reward. Mother's alone now and does what she can.
I should think she could do precious little till this terrible pestilence is lifted.
Some say the lands are cursed.
Only with the incompetence of men. As so much of everything is.
And really, it's the whole system that's so absurd. Consensusly, we owe crop to some bishop, and we're not even permitted to feed our own.
You will do well to limit the number of words that come out of your mouth.
Yes, sir.
Or do something nice for a poor old man, won't you? Try saying, my lord, instead.
Yes, my lord.
That's a good girl. I think you'll find our guests will prefer it. Now I have something to ask you. Have you kept your maidenhood?
I beg your pardon.
You may beg all you want, but my question remains. Are you intact?
What if I had reached across and slapped him? Really? Would my palm have stung with pride? Or would I have felt nothing?
Would it have killed you to smile at the man? To just say thank you?
You didn't need a housekeeper.
You can't stay here, Gretel.
Why not?
Because there isn't enough room. This place is too crowded with ghosts. Hungry.
I'm going to meet the John Strip and his wife, if you ask.
Fairy tales have a funny way of getting into your head. I don't remember where I was, or when, that I first heard the story of the beautiful child in her little pink cap. Just feels like I've always known it. I wonder how someone gets their own fairy tale told about them. And if I'd even want that. You have to go through a lot of terrible trouble, and most of the time some prince appears and wakes you up anyway. But I don't see any princes around here. There's only my little brother. He follows me wherever I go, and I have to share everything with him. But at least he's mine.
Why are you wearing that?
I'm going to meet the John Strip and his wife, if you ask one. Mother imagines he needs a housekeeper.
But why are your lips so strangely colored?
If I should ever see so much as a crumb of cake, you'll be the first to know. Okay.
Do you read?
No, though I am able to bake and launder.
Your father's a farmer, yes?
Was, yes. He's gone ahead to his forward. Mother's alone now and does what she can.
I should think she can do precious little till this terrible pestilence is lifted.
Some say the lands are cursed.
Only with the incompetence of men. As so much of everything is.
And really, it's the whole system that's so absurd. Consensusly, we owe crop to some bishop, and we're not even permitted to feed our own.
You will do well to limit the number of words that come out of your mouth.
Yes, sir.
Or do something nice for a poor old man, won't you? Try saying, my lord, instead.
Yes, my lord.
That's a good girl. I think you'll find our guests will prefer it. Now I have something to ask you. Have you kept your maidenhood?
I beg your pardon.
You may beg all you want, but my question remains. Are you intact?
What if I had reached across and slapped him? Would my palm have stung with pride? Or would I have felt nothing?
Would it have killed you to smile at the man? To just say thank you?
You didn't need a housekeeper.
You can't stay here, Gretel.
It was sort of like a really weird way to start off the film. And then her mom throws her out because she doesn't accept money from them. And so it's like obviously overly sexual, and he makes her say, "Oh, say my lord," and he was like, you'll get a lot from these guys in here if you tell them that. I felt like it was a very strange beginning to the film.
Yeah, I wrote that down as well. Like, I thought I wasn't expecting for the film to start off that way. And for them to go off with like, okay, well, they're showing that it's a male world. They run it, and that women, since they're trying to make it seem old and like by the clothes and all that, how the men are kind of more in power than the women. And especially like her looking for a job and being, I don't know, thinking that she was going out to be like one of those like helpers throughout the house and like help around. The fact that her mom would even place her in that position and send her out knowing what she's going to get herself into. And
then just telling her daughter to just accept it.
Yeah, and just accept that.
Kind of being like, excuse me, what the hell are you... You wanted me to put myself into that situation?
Yeah, and like making it seem like it's okay. Like, no, you have to. Yeah. That's the way it works. That's how it is.
Which kind of like makes you sort of believe like, oh yeah, a witch is gonna live in the woods.
But it was definitely, their interaction felt very sexualized.
It started me on a very jarring place. And I felt like the rest of the story kind of got a little bit creepy, but it kind of got more gory.
Yeah.
But it never really got as creepy as that.
Yeah, no. That was super...
That upset me, but I was like, okay, I can probably bear it. And then it never really got any creepier than that.
Yeah. I was honestly scared for both of them throughout the entire film. Like, just wanting to protect both, and especially the Hansel. Like, being that they kept bringing up how it's such a big, bad, scary world, and they made the woods seem so, like, such a scary, ominous place. And, like, when she did leave him out in the woods thinking that it was a dream, but when it was real, yeah, like, I was like, holy shit, something bad's obviously, like, he's in the woods alone, like, that just can't be, like, you can't just do that. And I don't know, I just felt very scared for them whenever they went out, whenever they had to go and move around.
Like, even like the camera angles, everything, like even when they were in the town, like even in the beginning, you see them in the town, they're running through, it's all normal. But whenever they're in the woods, it's that weird like POV shot where it's like from like slightly below Gretel's face, and she's just like wandering around the woods, and it's like it's usually her POV that's like that. It's not really like Hansel doesn't really get any of that.
No.
It's usually just her.
It's throughout the film,
it really makes you distrust what happens in the woods. Like every time there's like a building, it's structured and it's usually normal camera movements and everything.
Yeah.
But every time in that woods, man, and like especially with when they're on the mushrooms, like you kind of get more her POV than you do get Hansel's. Like he just kind of like feels sick, goes and throws up, but you kind of get like her feeling really creeped out.
Yeah. That's what I noticed too.
Yeah.
You see her POV and just basically her perspective throughout the entire film rather than see both or see his as well. Like it's more of her journey. That it was our interpretation and what our thoughts were on the Gretel and Hansel film.
2020. Osgood Perkins and Sophia Lillis.
For Jonthan Key's class. Jonathan, we miss you.
Screen Culture Spring 2020. Never forget.
Yes, we will never forget you or the class.